all are fine. Today I am just going to deal with the first chapter, which is called as the nutrition. Okay. So before that, let me ask you a few questions. Why do we need food? Any answers from anyone? Yes, we need food to get energy. And the next question: why do we need energy? Yes, we need energy to do some work. So the simple definition for this nutrition is the food what we eat. From that we are going to get some energy, and with that energy we are going to do some work. So that is the definition of nutrition. Okay, and the mode of nutrition, it differs from organism to one organism. So all organisms do not acquire same kind of food materials, or the mode of obtaining food materials will differ from cell to cell and from one living organism to the other living organism. Okay, so now we shall go into the next part of this particular. So we have different modes of nutrition. The first one is autotrophic nutrition. The second one is heterotrophic nutrition. Okay, so I am going to deal with the autotrophic part of nutrition. Okay, the word autotrophic, that auto, what it says, self. Auto meaning self. So all the organisms which prepare their own food on their own are also called as autotrophs. Okay, and the mode of nutrition in them is called as autotrophic nutrition. Okay, so this is about autotrophic nutrition. And the best examples for such autotrophic nutrition are all green plants. All green plants, and including algae. Okay, during rainy seasons you do find the growth of green color substances wherever there is lot of water present. Okay, so that is nothing but the growth of algae. It is one of the category which comes under microorganisms. Okay, so all green plants and algae together will acquire their food with help of autotrophic mode of nutrition. Next is heterotrophic nutrition. Heterotrophic nutrition is nothing but the organisms which depend on other organisms for obtaining the food. Best examples like we, the human beings. We do not have any mechanism of preparation of our own food. So we either depends on directly on plants or animals for obtaining our food. So we are the best examples which come under heterotrophic mode of nutrition. So other animals, other kind of different animals, us as human beings, everyone will come under the heterotrophic mode of nutrition. So hence we are called as heterotrophs. So I think this particular concept, autotrophic nutrition and heterotrophic nutrition definitions, because of this autotrophic nutrition, okay, the plants are able to prepare their own food by the process called as photosynthesis. So we have already learned what is photosynthesis in lower classes. So you have a simple definition of photosynthesis. So the definition of photosynthesis is plants are able to prepare their own food by using simple substances. So what are those substances which are used by the plants? First one is carbon dioxide, second one is water, third one is sunlight, and the fourth one is chlorophyll. So plants are using all these four things. Okay, these are called as raw materials. Why? Because they are being obtained from outside. Except this chlorophyll, remaining three are called as the raw materials used in the process of photosynthesis. Okay, carbon dioxide from the atmosphere is being taken up. Water is being taken up from outside only. Carbon dioxide is taken up by stomata present on the surface of the leaves. Water is being absorbed by the roots of the plant, and sunlight is being captured by these pigment molecules called chlorophyll. What is a pigment? Pigment. What do you mean by pigment? Pigment is nothing but any color producing substance is called as a pigment. So hence this chlorophyll looks green in color, so we call it as a green color pigment. And because of this particular pigment only, most of the plant parts are green in color. So if there is a question asked like why the plants are green in color, you should answer that because of the green color pigment called chlorophyll. Similarly, why is our blood red? Because of presence of another red pigment called as hemoglobin. So I think you have understood what is this particular substance chlorophyll provides. Okay. So by using carbon dioxide, water, sunlight and chlorophyll, the plants are able to synthesize their own food. Okay. That is only we call it as photosynthesis. Okay. So what is the food that is being produced at the end after photosynthesis is glucose. The simple sugar that is being produced, okay, that is called glucose. C6H12O6 is glucose. Okay. So this photosynthesis was first identified by a scientist called C.B. van Neel. Okay. So he has given a simple equation that represents photosynthesis. Okay. So I am writing the balanced equation of photosynthesis here now. Carbon dioxide plus water in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll, it is producing glucose. Okay, 6 molecules of carbon dioxide, 12 molecules of water, 1 molecule of glucose, okay, and 6 molecules each of water and oxygen. So this is the complete balanced equation which was given by C.B. van Neel. Okay, and I have kept arrow indicating like this, an upper arrow. It means this oxygen will enter into the atmosphere. Okay. So I said that because of this photosynthesis process, plants are preparing their own food that is called as glucose. Okay. Theoretically, I said that plants are preparing glucose. Have you ever seen glucose present in the leaves? Has anyone seen glucose present in the leaves? No. Myself also not. So let us first demonstrate and prove that yes, during photosynthesis, glucose is produced inside the plant parts, green color plant parts. Okay. For that we have an activity. Okay. And with this activity we can demonstrate that yes, during photosynthesis starch is produced inside the plant. So the apparatus or the things what we require for this experiment are small leaf of any plant. We require small leaf of any plant. We require a beaker. We should take a small test tube, and inside this test tube we have to fill with methylated spirit. This beaker should be filled with water, and this particular leaf has to be placed in this particular test tube containing methylated spirit. Now this particular beaker should be placed on a tripod stand, and under it we have to place a Bunsen burner. Okay, so this Bunsen burner has to be lighted up. Okay, and you have to boil this leaf in methylated spirit kept in the water bath. Okay, for up to how many minutes? Like I am not mentioning a time period. Why? Because we are boiling the leaf. Okay, we have to ensure that the leaf should leave its color. The green, the substance which is called as chlorophyll has to be completely removed. So until the leaf turns into the pale color, we need to boil this leaf inside the methylated spirit. The question comes, what is the use of this methylated spirit? Very important question. So methylated spirit is helping in removal of chlorophyll from the leaf. Okay. So you may even ask me some other doubts like, ma'am, is it not why is it necessary to only boil this particular leaf in methylated spirit? Okay, we even can boil the leaf directly in the water itself, but it takes lot of time. So in order to conserve that, or in order to save that particular time, in order to remove chlorophyll within less time, so this methylated spirit is helping in its removal. So the function of this methylated spirit, it helps in removal of the chlorophyll content from the leaf. So once the chlorophyll has been gone, the leaf now turns into somewhat pale color, colorless, pale color, not exact white. I cannot say it is exactly turns into white. It is called as pale color. So once the leaf has been turned into the pale color, just off the Bunsen burner flame. Okay, the Bunsen burner flame is put off. Next, carefully you have to just place the beaker down, remove the test tube from it, and with the help of tongue just place this particular leaf in a petri plate. Petri plate is nothing but a round plate like thing. Okay, this is called as a petri plate. Okay, so on this we are placing this pale color leaf. Okay, from which the entire chlorophyll has been removed. So now we have to take iodine solution. We have to take iodine solution with help of a dropper, and we have to add this iodine on the entire surface of the leaf. Okay, and just wait for a few minutes for the observation. So what do we observe after a few minutes? You can see some dark blue or dark black color spots present on the leaf. Okay, so if at all if you get some dark black spots on the surface of the leaf, it indicates that yes, starch has been produced during so from this activity it has been proven that yes, during photosynthesis glucose is formed inside the plant. So we have seen that yes, starch is formed inside the green parts of the plant body. The next topic is factors affecting photosynthesis. We will start with water and photosynthesis. How water is affecting the process of photosynthesis. Actually, in the 7th class itself, we have learned von Helmont experiment. Okay, that willow tree experiment. I think you can all like he has taken a willow plant. Okay, previously in those days, scientists. So in order to prove whether that particular process is happening or not, there is a scientist called von Helmont. Von Helmont, he has conducted an experiment with a plant called as willow. This is called as a willow plant. Okay, just like what we have like a neem plant, mango plant and all, it is just a willow plant. Okay, which was growing in this farmland. Okay, so for this what he has taken, he initially brought a new pot, and he covered this pot with soil. So before covering this pot with the soil, he has weighed the amount of soil that he is going to put into this particular pot. For example, let's imagine 2 kgs of soil is required. So this particular measurement he has been noticed that in his book. Then later he took this particular plant and he just placed in the pot and he planted. Okay. Then next, this particular surface of this pot is covered with a lid that has very tiny holes on it. Okay, and now he has just given water. He has supplied only water for this particular plant, no other materials, just normal water supply and was being provided daily. Okay, and sometimes even just left the plant, it could only get the rainwater. Now the question comes, why this particular lid has small holes? What is the purpose of covering this particular pot with a lid? Any answers or any guesses? Simple. The reason is no soil particles should come out. Okay, and no other materials should enter inside. Any other solid materials from outside should not enter inside the pot. Okay. Similarly, the soil particles should not also come out. For that reason, he has covered just with a lid having small tiny holes. So through these tiny holes, only water can allowed inside. So this experiment he has left for 5 years. He has supplied nothing, only water for 5 years. So after 5 years, obviously, what would be the observation? You see the growth of the plant. Yes, it has been grown to attain height. Okay, so carefully he has removed the lid. He has uprooted the plant. Okay, when you uproot the plant, you can see soil particles get attached to the surface of the roots. So slowly he has removed all those soil particles, and he has put all those soil particles back into that particular pot. So later again he emptied this particular pot. He has took amount of soil, and again he has just measured. So it again contained some 1.999 some percent of kgs of soil is being present. Okay, there is no much difference. You can't see much difference in the amount of soil here. Okay, the amount of soil what is being kept inside the pot is, it remains the same. Okay, but the plant has been grown much taller. Why do you think it has been grown? Do you think it has been eaten the soil and grown? If it could have eaten the soil, then the amount of soil has to be decreased. Yes or no? But it did not happen. This did not happen. It means that plant is not at all eating soil. Then how do you think it has been grown? It is because it just drank the water what you have supplied continuously for the past 5 years. So by drinking this water, the plant has been grown to certain height. So, okay, so during photosynthesis, water also plays an important role for its growth. Okay, understood? Next question comes here is, okay, if at all if there is no soil, now don't jump into the conclusion that soil is not at all useful for its growth. Yes, it is necessary. How? The soil has different nutrients like nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, and other ions, other salts, and all. Okay, so these are present in the soil, which are acting like nutrients for the growth of the plant. So these nutrients gets dissolved in this particular water. So when these nutrients in the soil gets dissolved in the water what you supply, so these dissolved minerals and nutrients in the soil are absorbed by the roots of the plant, and they are taken by the xylem to reach the entire part of the plant body. So in this way, the soil nutrients are helping for the growth of this plant. Okay, okay. So I just don't conclude that only water is helping in its growth, but the dissolved nutrients present in the soil are being absorbed by the roots of the plant. So in this way, the first factor, water, helps in the process of photosynthesis. So here water also plays a very important role in the process of photosynthesis. So if water is not supplied properly to the plant, so it eventually may even die. So now we will discuss about the next factor affecting photosynthesis, that is air and photosynthesis. So let's just talk about the importance of air. Okay. So for this experiment was done by Joseph Priestley. Joseph Priestley has done this experiment. He has just taken a bell jar. He has just taken a bell jar. Okay? And in the inner side of the bell jar, he has just placed a candle. He has just placed a candle and one mice or rat like thing. Okay? And he has lit this candle from outside the bell jar. So if you lift this bell jar, the rat can escape easily. Yes? Okay? Now the question is, how should you lit this particular candle from outside? Any answer? Any guesses? See, you have something called as magnification glass, which looks like this. Magnification glass. You people have been played in your childhood days. That is called as a magnification glass, magnifying glass. So with that particular magnification glass, he has lit this particular candle from outside the bell jar. So this candle is now being lit. Okay? Okay? So now what happens? Eventually whatever air which is present in this closed space of the bell jar, that is being used up for the respiration process of this rat and also for this burning purpose. So once all this inside air has been completely finished or used up by both these things, what happens? The flame now puts off. The flame puts off, releasing some other gas. Okay. So this, because of releasing of this gas, made this particular rat to suffocate. Okay, now this rat is suffocating. It is unable to move. Okay, it's like acting as if it got fits. Okay, so then he concluded that why this rat is suffocating, it is because of whatever air that is being, or the gas which has been released from the animal and the candle is impure one. Okay, so this is the conclusion what he made. So the next set of experiment, he has taken another bell jar or the same bell jar. This time again he has introduced one candle. Okay, the same suffocating rat, and here surprisingly he has kept one more thing, a potted small mint plant. Mint means pudina. So a mint plant is introduced now. Okay, and again he has lit this particular candle from outside. So now tell what will happen. What will happen? Whatever gas that is produced from this particular flame is being taken up by the plant. Okay, and the plant produces another gas. Okay, so that is taken up by the candle for its burning. And the same gas is also used by the rat. So happily the rat, it starts moving normally. Okay, because the gas whatever produced from the plant is the one which is called as a pure. So in this way he just concluded that the gas which is put off from the candle is making the air impure and made this particular animal suffocated. Whereas as soon as you introduce a mint plant, this plant restores whatever is being given out by the animal and the candle. So in this way the plants make the air pure. Okay, so this is the conclusion part which is given by Joseph Lister. The next topic is like, let's see what is the importance of this carbon dioxide, how it plays a major role in the process of photosynthesis. Okay, so if there is no carbon dioxide taken up by the plants, then we can say there is no photosynthesis happening and the plants cannot prepare their own food. Let us demonstrate this with an activity. So for which we require potted plant, so we require a potted plant with broad leaves, thin broad leaves, and we require this is the brick for just supporting this particular bottle. We require narrow mouth bottle with a slipped cork. Okay, whatever cork which we keep here should have a cut so that half of the leaf has to enter inside the bottle. So I draw the diagram like this. Okay, now you can see that this portion of the leaf is inside the bottle. So before inserting the leaf to the split cork inside the bottle, pellets of KOH. KOH is nothing but potassium hydroxide. So potassium hydroxide pellets has to be taken in this particular bottle. Now what is the role of this KOH? It absorbs all the carbon dioxide present inside the bottle. Okay. So this is the experimental setup. You have to keep this experimental setup, one in sunlight and another setup in dark room. Okay. So before performing any activity on photosynthesis, you have to de-starch the leaf. What do you mean by de-starching leaf? Don't know what is meant by de-starching. De-starching is nothing but removal of starch from the leaf is called as de-starching. How can you do that? Just take a potted plant, keep in a dark room for at least a week or 10 days. And what will happen? Whatever initially formed starch, whatever will be there, that will be completely utilized by the plant for its survival. So there is no more starch left inside these leaves. So such plant which is kept in the dark room, we say that it has been completely destarched. Okay, so this particular potted plant is kept for destarch. Okay, so later after 10 days, we have to just bring this particular potted plant. Okay, and we have to keep it in the sunlight. Then we have to carry this particular experiment. Okay, so remember, for every activity of photosynthesis that you need to carry out, remember the step destarching. Destarching is compulsory. Otherwise, you would not get good results. Okay, for the presence of starch. So once the leaf has been destarched, you bring this experimental setup in the sunlight and just carry out. So this is the experimental setup. We require a narrow mouth bottle with a split cork, and so half of the leaf has to be inserted inside the bottle, and ensure that this bottle should contain KOH pellets. Okay, KOH is potassium hydroxide. The function of this KOH is it absorbs all the carbon dioxide present inside the bottle. So whatever air or gas, carbon dioxide, okay, air mixture of gases, right? So that carbon dioxide part will be absorbed by this KOH. Okay. So later, when you keep this particular experimental setup in sunlight for about 2 to 3 hours, okay, after keeping it for sunlight for 2 to 3 hours, just plug this particular leaf, remove this leaf, and remove it from the bottle. Just just place it on the Petri plate, okay, like this. Okay, so now see, this particular portion is kept in the bottle, and this region is exposed to sun. Okay, so the one which is exposed to the bottle becomes colorless, not colorless, exactly, it becomes somewhat brownish color, because this portion did not get enough of carbon dioxide, but the other portion of the leaf got good amount of carbon dioxide as well as sunlight, and also it is been taking water from the root. So all the materials required for photosynthesis are available for this portion of the leaf, but this particular portion did not get sufficient amounts of carbon dioxide. Okay, now we have to perform methylated spirit activity. See, earlier in area I have discussed that we have to take this particular leaf and put it for boiling under the water bath for methylated spirit. So that particular step has to be followed here. So after removing the chlorophyll content of this particular leaf, again place the leaf in the Petri plate, on the Petri plate. Now we have to pour what? Iodine solution on the surface of the leaf. So after pouring the iodine surface of the entire surface of the leaf, just you wait for the observation. What do you observe? Now tell me where you can see this formation of starch, as in the exposed region of the sun, or with the one which is kept in the bottle, the one which is only exposed in the sunlight region. So here you can see dark blue color or black color spots only formed in this particular region. Why? Because only this region has been exposed to sunlight, and this region has been getting enough of carbon dioxide, whereas you cannot see any formation of dark spots, black color spots in this particular region. It means that now it is being clear that carbon dioxide is also necessary for photosynthesis. Okay, so this experiment was given by, or it has been demonstrated by mole, MOHL, mole. So it is called as mole's half leaf experiment. So it is called as mole's half leaf experiment. Next activity is, let us find out how important is sunlight. So we found that yes, without carbon dioxide no photosynthesis happens. Yes, without water no photosynthesis happens. Now let us see what is the role of the sunlight in photosynthesis. Okay, so again, and let me just remind you, we have in the moles half leaf experiment we have kept two different sets. One we have kept in light, and one we have kept in the dark. So I just forgot to tell you about the one setup which is kept in the dark. So if you keep the entire setup in the dark, and if you perform the iodine test for stars, you could not get any results. Why? Because in the absence of sunlight, no photosynthesis happens. So here also, in this particular activity, sunlight necessary for photosynthesis also, you have to take destarched before perform. As I before mentioned that for any activity of photosynthesis, you have to destarch. Okay, we have to remove the starch from the content from the leaves. Now again you have to take the destarched potted plant. Okay, and you have to just require one thing, that is nothing but a black paper. Okay, either you can make several designs on this black paper, or you can just directly take the black paper and cover it. So just cover a portion of the leaf with a black paper. Okay, and just leave it in the sunlight for 2 to 3 hours. Okay, after 2 to 3 hours again you have to just remove this, plug this leaf, remove the black paper from it, and you keep it for methylated spirit boiling, so that you can remove all the entire chlorophyll present in it. Now after removing the chlorophyll, just place the leaf on a petri plate, and now just try adding what? Iodine solution. So after adding iodine solution on the entire surface of the leaf, now could you please tell me the observation? What do you find? Like this particular region is being covered with the black paper. So this particular region will not get sunlight. Yes or no? Yes. And only these regions, the other side of the leaf regions, are getting exposure to the sunlight. So you can only find black or blue color spots only in these regions. It means starch is only formed in this particular region, but it is not formed in the region of the leaf which is covered with the black paper. Why? Why? Because it has been covered with the black paper, so that portion of the leaf will not absorb sunlight. So hence, if it is not absorbing sunlight, means photosynthesis never occurred. Photosynthesis, if it is not occurred, means there is no formation of glucose or starch. This is also called as light screen experiment, because we are using a black paper as a screen here, okay, which doesn't allow the. Now talk about structure of chloroplast. Okay, so it was Julius von Sachs who has identified that this green color chlorophyll is formed in a cell organelle called as chloroplast. Okay, the parts which are present inside the cytoplasm of the cell are called as cell organelles. Okay, so the cell itself is very tiny, and in that tiny cell we have different set of cell organelles. So one important cell organelle which is responsible for photosynthesis is chloroplast. So the diagram I have already drawn it on the board, whiteboard. So it is having a double membranous structure. So this is called the outer membrane, this is the inner membrane, and the third membrane is nothing but the diagram of thylakoids. You can see stalk-like structures which are placed one upon the other. Okay, these are called as grana thylakoids. Actually, if one stalk is called as grana. Okay, and when it is placed upon one another, then together we are calling this grana thylakoids. Okay, grana thylakoids. So inside the membranes of this grana thylakoids only, you have this green color pigment called as chlorophyll present. Not only green color pigment, apart from this green color pigment, they are having several other photosynthetic pigments. Okay, like chlorophyll A, chlorophyll B, the carotenoids, xanthophylls, phycoerythrins, or all other photosynthetic pigments that are present inside this membranes of grana thylakoids. Okay, so the activity of absorption of light rays actually takes place in this grana thylakoids. Okay, so these are all grana thylakoids. These are connected with each other with the help of a structure, ladder-like structures called as stroma lamellae. So inside this chloroplast you have a fluid-filled portion. This fluid-filled portion is called as stroma. So the enzymatic reactions to produce glucose happens in this particular stroma part of the chloroplast. And here and there you can find some starch molecules, lipid molecules, and the loop of DNA, the genetic material. Okay, so this each and every molecule of chlorophyll is made up of one atom of magnesium in its center. Okay, so this chlorophyll which is present inside the grana only helps in the process of photosynthesis. So in the next video, next class I will be talking about the mechanism of photosynthesis, how it happens, and it's. After discussing about the structure of chloroplast, we need to discuss about the mechanism of photosynthesis, how it happens and how many steps and all. So it just has 3 simple steps. The first step is trapping of the sunlight energy and converting into the chemical energy. Second, with utilization of the same sunlight energy, splitting of water molecule takes place. That is called as photolysis of water. The third, carbon dioxide is reduced to form glucose, the carbohydrate. So these 3 steps are been explained in 2 different reactions. One is light reaction, and another one is called as the dark reaction. Why it is called as light reaction? Any guesses? Because any step in the photosynthesis starts with the initiation of light. So light only initiates several steps for photosynthesis. So all these steps which takes place in the presence of light are called as light reactions, and in the absence of light also the continuation part of the photosynthesis also occurs. So those are called as dark reactions. So dark reactions are nothing but in the absence of light, okay, the other steps of photosynthesis still tries to take place. So these are called as the dark reactions. So now the entire mechanism of photosynthesis can be explained under two headings: few steps under light reaction and few steps under the dark reaction. So here the first two steps, trapping of sunlight energy and converting to chemical energy, and the second step, photolysis of water, can be explained under light reaction. And the last step, reduction of carbon dioxide to carbohydrates, can be explained under dark reaction. Okay. So now I will explain you about the light reaction. It's very simple. So the first step, what I mentioned, is trapping of sunlight energy by the leaf. So soon in the morning, when sun rises, what happens? All the rays of the sun fall on the surface of the leaf. So there, what is happening? The chloroplast gets activated. And inside the grana membrane, whatever chlorophyll pigments are there, no. So these chlorophyll pigments, what they do, they start trapping all the amount of sunlight needed for them. So once all the sunlight energy is been trapped, this sunlight energy is converted into chemical energy. That's the reason it is also called as photochemical phase. Okay, the light reaction has two names. It can be called as light reaction or also called as photochemical phase. Why? Because it is happening in the presence of sunlight. Okay, and where is exactly happening? Location in the grana of the chloroplast. So I said no, there are strap-like structures. Okay, so inside this grana, this particular light reaction takes place. Okay. Now once this solar energy is converted to chemical energy, by using the same energy, whatever water is being absorbed by the roots, this water is being split into two ions. So see, the second step is, first step is conversion of solar energy into chemical energy, that has been finished. Now by utilizing the same energy, the water molecule is split into two ions, H plus ions and OH minus ions. Okay, hydrogen ions and hydroxyl ions respectively. Okay. So this splitting of water molecule in the presence of light. So I am using the symbol. This is the symbol used to. It is the symbol which shows light energy. Okay. So in presence of sunlight energy, this water is being split into two ions. We are calling them as hydrogen ions and hydroxyl ions. Okay. So let us start with hydroxyl ions first. Okay. So hydroxyl ions undergoes a quick change. So they undergo a series of reactions. They undergo a quick change, and they are going to produce two things: water and oxygen. Okay, this water, if at all, if it is needed by the plant will absorb it. Otherwise, with the help of transpiration process, the water is also being evaporated back to the atmosphere. And during photosynthesis, oxygen is metabolic waste product, so hence it is being liberated into the atmosphere. Okay, the next step, during such processes, energy is also being produced. So for storing this energy, ATP and NADPH, okay, these are nothing but energy storing compounds which are formed at the end of the light reaction. One is ATP and one is NADPH. ATP means adenosine triphosphate. NADPH means nicotinamide adenosine dinucleotide hydrogen phosphate. So these two compounds are nothing but energy rich compounds. They store lots of energy. Okay. So these are formed at the end of the light reaction. Okay. So these are the steps which takes place only in light reaction. The next step is dark reaction. Light reaction has been finished. Now I am just explaining what is dark reaction. So dark reaction means, first of all, we can call it as light independent reaction because it doesn't require the presence of light. So I am calling it as light independent reaction, or it is also called as biosynthetic phase. Why it is called as biosynthetic phase? Because in this particular reaction, or in this phase only, glucose is being produced or it is being synthesized inside the plant. So it is called as biosynthetic phase. Okay. Whereas in the light reaction, I just mentioned as photochemical phase. So we can call it as with another name, the light dependent reactions. So that is light dependent reaction, and this is light independent reaction where it doesn't depend on light. In source of light is not required for this particular reaction. So it is also called as dark reaction. And remember, Don't think that dark reaction takes place only during night time. Okay, that doesn't make any sense. Only these reactions happens in the absence of light. They doesn't require the presence of light. So only they are called as dark reaction. Okay, keep that in the mind, that don't think that these reactions happen only in the time of night. This reaction doesn't take place in the night time. They only occur in the absence of light. So as the light is absent, we are calling it as dark reaction. So in this dark reaction, the first step is what is happening. See, already during photolysis of water, we got two ions, H plus ions and OH ions we have got no. So that H plus ions, hydrogen ions, are being picked up by a molecule called NADP. So in the dark reaction, so whatever the hydrogen ion which is formed in the photolysis process, and the photolysis process was first discovered by Robert Hill. Okay, so that photolysis process is also called as Hill's reaction. So even in the exam point of view, they may ask what is Hill's reaction, write the equation. So photolysis equation was also discovered by Robert Hill. So it is also called as Hill's reaction. So that particular ion H plus, whichever is formed, this is being picked up by NADP. So when NADP picks up H plus ions, now it is forming as NADPH. Okay, now it becomes NADPH. Okay, now this hydrogen of this NADP, hydrogen of NADPH, it combines with carbon dioxide. So during daytime, whatever carbon dioxide that is absorbed with stomata of the leaves, okay, that carbon dioxide is now being combining with the hydrogen of NADP. Okay, and next it is forming simple. Hydrogen ions are picked by NADP and it forms as NADPH. So this hydrogen now combines with the carbon dioxide, finally it produces glucose. So it is not just a simple matter of process. So this formation of glucose occurs in different steps. So in between, several intermediate compounds are also formed. Okay, so last product what we get is glucose, no doubt. But in between, we do get several intermediate products formed. One such intermediate compound is RUBP. How to remember? Are you having BP? Simple, RUBP. So RUBP is nothing but ribulose 1,5 biphosphate or bisphosphate, however you want you can call it. So ribulose 1,5 bisphosphate is the intermediate compound which is formed during synthesis of glucose. Okay, so this is the entire expression and mechanism of photosynthesis in the two steps. One is light reaction and another is dark reaction. Very simple.